and welcome to our webinar on how to navigate the VMware changes. My name is Carolyn Norton, and I'm the Director of Cloud Services at Velosio, a leading provider of cloud solutions and services for small and mid-sized businesses. So, as many of you know, VMware recently announced some significant changes to its licensing and pricing model, affecting its customers and partners across the globe. These changes include a new per core licensing model, higher costs for software maintenance, and a reduced support cycle for some of their products. Now, these changes have raised a lot of questions and concerns among the VMware users, especially for those who rely on VMware for critical business applications and infrastructure. How are these changes going to impact your budget, your performance, your security, and your future plans? How do you optimize your VMware environment and reduce your costs and possible risks? How can you leverage the cloud to enhance your VMware capabilities and benefits? These are some of the questions that we're going to touch on in today's webinar, and make sure that you have all the information in front of you with these changes that have been announced. So, what we know so far is that licensing model is changing for the VMware products that existed prior to the acquisition. The new per core licensing model introduced by VMware is a significant shift from their earlier licensing model. Right now, their change is taking a per core model and changing the licenses based on, instead of it being based on the number of cores in the server, this is going to be focused more on that and less on the socket model. And what does that really mean? Ultimately, for organizations that have existing licensing, you're going to have to take a step back and reassess what you're currently using in terms of licensing for your hardware and your products, and determine if you need to adjust your licensing strategy, especially if your current setup involves servers with high core count processors, or if there's a need to recalibrate your services in-house. This could lead to an increased cost for supporting the same level of service inside of your organization. Now, for future license planning and budgeting, you have to account for these changes as well. Again, using the core change here, the core count change here, you're going to want to take a time to determine how that's going to affect your decision-making process for the products that you purchase in regards to VMware, your hardware, your virtualization strategy, and anything in between. Now, another change with the VMware licensing is their decision to stop selling perpetual licensing for its core products. VMware is moving to a subscription-based licensing model where you pay for your software or your cloud as a service. Much of it costs to keep the software running. Much of the cost to keep the software running and keeping your VMware running the way you're normally used to is going to be changing because of this subscription switch. If the cost is more than it used to be before when you had perpetual, again, this is a scenario where you're going to want to look at your costing and your budgeting and making sure that you're taking into consideration the changes that are forthcoming. It could impact your organization's budgets and any strategies or projects that you have either in progress today or you were planning for sometime in this year or the next. Along with the change to subscription licensing, some of their products are also getting a shorter support cycle. Either they're going to be end of lifing sooner than expected, or they're just going to be retired effective pretty quickly. So that also means as an organization, you're going to want to think about what does that mean in terms of the products that you're running in regards to VMware. Do you need to switch to newer products, newer versions? You know, again, when we're talking about a subscription model, we're talking about constant updates, constant version that's going to be changing for these products, which is a good thing, but can also be very different than the perpetual model. where you want to take that into consideration in regards to these products that run your organization and your business. Now, if you already have perpetual licensing, you're gonna be able to continue using them until they expire, which is great because that gives you some time to again sit down and plan and make sure you understand what's the impact. What are the products that are going to be retiring? How long do I have with that license so that I can plan accordingly? What's my game plan to transition over? What technology am I transitioning over? Is there a like for like in the space, or is there something new that you have to introduce? What level of uplift and downtime is your organization going to have in terms of these changes so that you can prepare accordingly? Now, if you're in the middle of a project and your licensing doesn't expire right away, you also have to take into consideration if you need net new licenses on top of. So again, for example, if you own a current product today that is licensed, but you need to add to your existing fleet, you're gonna end up only being able to buy the new licensing model version of that product or subscription or that item, given the changes that have been introduced. So again, taking a moment to think about what impact does that look like for your organization, whether it's planned or not. If the scenario were to happen, how's your organization prepared to handle and pivot when and if you have to make those adjustments or changes. Now, along with the licensing changes with VMware, and again, we're only into February, so there's been quite a bit of changes announced in the acquisition. We also have to consider again, what I mentioned earlier, which is the lifespan of the product and the support for that product. Specifically, if you have a support contract for your license for your product, you're most certainly have to check and validate, what's that term going to look like? How long do you have? Is there other options available for the product support? Because again, the last thing you want to be faced with or challenged with is you're in need of some sort of support level for this business product that's running your organization, and not having a support conduit for you to reach out to should you need to. So you'll want to make sure you check and make sure you understand what the terms are for your support contract if you have that, and then make sure you understand if that's going to change, when, and how long do you have to plan ahead for. So those are some of the changes that we know about today. If you're an organization that's leveraging VMware, essentially what I'm trying to say here is you really want to sit down and understand what's the impact of this acquisition and what does it mean for you as an organization. Again, budgeting wise, capabilities wise, product wise, and support wise, what does that mean for your organization? And, what I would highly suggest is go through a lot of what ifs. What if this license expires? What if this product is no longer available? What if I don't have a resource, a partner, and or a support contract that I can leverage if this use case happens? And make sure you're working through that as part of your planning and evaluation process, so you understand what this means for your organization, and that will start setting the tone for what you need to be thinking about doing next. And hopefully, since this announcement happened, you've either gotten in contact with VMware, or perhaps the partner that you were working with at the time has been collaborating with you around this, so you have some options and you've already started diving into it. If you haven't, this is the perfect time to get started in understanding what that impact looks like for you as an organization. Now, given that you're reviewing VMware, which I'm hoping that as an organization in general, you're reviewing your technology strategy and assessing what tools you have and what that looks like for 1 to 3 to 5 years with that organization, right? And since right now we're talking about reevaluating VMware, you should be considering reviewing and determining the impact. But this might be a perfect opportunity to determine if it makes sense as an organization to look at other solution sets, as along with looking at the VMware product. And so I want to make sure I call out something that may or may not be known to many is that VMware is actually available in the cloud. So I know I was talking a lot about VMware products that traditionally have been on premise. But there is a VMware solution that is available in public cloud that might be a better solution for an organization that's evaluating their VMware posture or their technology posture in general. So one solution that might be worth investigating and exploring is what's referred to as AVS. So AVS is an Azure VMware solution. It is a partnership with VMware and Azure together, right? So you know VMware, you know and understand that product, and you have it in your organization for a period of time. So nothing new there. You're familiar with Microsoft, you know Microsoft, and they've been around, as long as we can remember at this point. And you got these two big technology giants working together to create a cloud service that's been around for a bit, to give the best of the both worlds. And that's AVS. Again, Azure VMware Solution for the non-acronym folks here. And so with all these changes, something to consider and or investigate as you start assessing what these changes mean for your organization. You'll want to look at, what makes sense in terms of transitioning over. Does it make sense to run your products in your data centers and continue with VMware and transition into their licensing model, understanding those impacts and recognizing, what it does or does not change for your organization as it regards to technology? Or is it an opportunity and does it make better, is it a better decision to transition your VMware platform from where it is today into some AVS type solution? So I would say running a data center of any sort, whether it's in your building or some other location, can be a little bit costly, 9 times out of 10. We're thinking buying hardware, maintaining hardware, powering the hardware, and now, with the licensing model, you're going to be paying for that monthly subscription already. So it's moving towards that subscription model for your VMware product line. And so does it make sense to, at this point, move the infrastructure and the VMware licensing into the cloud and just go full in with the subscription model so that you're essentially using AVS? And very much like anything inside of Microsoft Cloud or at most cloud solutions is, you pay for what you use. You pay for the resources that you're looking for, the products that you're leveraging, and you can determine if that budgeting and that costing in that space makes more sense than what you have today or what's going to be introduced at some point, depending on your licensing model and position. Does it make sense to move into the cloud? So taking a moment here. So when we talk about AVS and it being in the cloud, besides it being in Microsoft Azure, it's very similar in terms of we're talking about eliminating your infrastructure, so your products, so your hardware devices of any sort. I mentioned servers earlier, but obviously there are other product lines that VMware supports that you can transition and eliminate hardware off of and move into Azure and leverage the Azure management capabilities, so you're not having to invest in hardware particularly yourself, and you can use the public cloud to get that for your organization and look for an opportunity to right size your budget in terms of hardware. Now, AVS does include, your favorite, your known suspects, right? So when I say AVS, it's the best of the both worlds. we're talking about Azure, we're talking about vSphere, vCenter, vSAN, and I'm sure a few other products that I can't think of at the moment. But AVS, it gives you the opportunity to use Azure as your infrastructure, whether it's networking, servers, any sort of virtualization of some sort, and then you use your known platform to manage it. Okay, again, the V suites, I'll say, to manage it. So the nice thing about that is it's not a massive change for your organization. It is a slight change, meaning there's a product there that's there that you're familiar with, that your organization has used in the past, and it's not as unfamiliar as going straight into Azure. But now you're also introducing the capabilities of being inside of the Azure cloud and leveraging their hardware. And since, again, the licensing model is changing for VMware, moving everything to AVS, you can consider letting go of your perpetual licenses when they end. You're going to be moving to a new subscription model anyway. It may make sense cost wise and feature functionality wise to consider moving into AVS and seeing what that looks like as part of your go forward strategy. So aside from that, AVS, again, gives you the best of both worlds. So you have VMware's virtualization platform, like I said earlier, and you got Azure's amazing cloud services. This way, you get the tool sets ready for you, but you also can light up things like everyone's favorite topic right now, AI. You have access to deeper data analytics using the Azure cloud as a way to collect all your data together, analyze and drive really cool insights on what the data means for your organization and how you can leverage that. IoT, and a bunch of other things that you may not have had on premise, or would have been more costly if you attempted to try to do it on premise with your applications and or your products that you're using today with VMware. So again, I think it's a really cool opportunity right now for many organizations who are not sure, what does this impact really mean? What do I need to be considering? Is this an opportunity to add some cool new features, or even set your organization up for success for future projects or future things that your organization is going to want to dive into at some point or another? Again, data, AI, any other fun feature sets that are very popular today, that the organization's been thinking about it, or you've been wondering yourself how you can leverage it inside your organization. With this VMware change, it's a perfect opportunity to assess, hey, maybe this is, given that we have to change anyway and we have to look at what we're doing anyway, is this the right time to make that transition and see, beyond covering licensing and support and making sure we have a product that's going to run the organization, is there a win-win here where I can get a little bit more bang for my buck, so to speak, by going with AVS? And then, of course, with cloud, it's all the, again, usual suspects, right? You can scale, you can evolve, you can change, you can modernize, you can move off of certain platforms, use other services and solutions alongside your VMware. Or there might be products in VMware that are not going to be, they're not going to be carried forward in another product that might already exist inside of the Azure cloud somewhere that you can easily transition over to. So you have a game plan for those retiring products as well. And when we're talking about AVS, it is a subscription model like VMware is moving to right now. And then with AVS, you're subscriptioning the infrastructure and the licensing together, all part and parcel, so that you have that budgeted amount month over month. The support is covered. It's part of the provided services. And again, you get access to additional feature sets that you may not have had on premise. Oh, another one that I failed to mention is security. So if you're a VMware organization and you're in the midst of trying to improve your security posture, or make improvements of your security posture, or even start your security posture wherever you are in your journey. I have not had an organization tell me, no, I don't care about security. And so if that's something, again, that is in your plans or you're worried about, or your organization's asking, how do we better fortify our business so that things are running and we're able to, transact and do a good job with our customer base or our client base, and not risk ourselves and let ourselves get exposed. So again, AVS is a really cool solution that you may want to look at, because you're handling your VMware aspect, but you're also introducing tool sets that may have been more challenging and or costly to implement in your current state, that will be at essentially in a virtual arm's length away from your other services that are going to be running inside the cloud. So something else to consider when you're doing this assessment is what other things you could be gaining from doing this. So aside from, making sure that your licensing, your costing, your infrastructure, has a path forward, and then looking for future feature sets that may be helpful for your organization, there's likely other things that you can gain just reassessing where you are with your VMware posture. The other announcement with the acquisition is that many of the partners that were providing VMware support or licensing may have been transitioned out of their program. So you might find yourself in a scenario where, you're limited with, where you can procure, who you can reach out for support, and any number of things that you may have been getting from your current partner. So again, it's right now there's a lot of things as an organization running VMware. You want to take a step back and just reconsider and understand, how does that impact you? And if it doesn't, that's great. It's good to make sure that you are aware, whether or not there is any critical business impact for your organization, and feel good about your position. And if it is giving you some sort of concern, risk, thought process that you want to go through, just make sure that you're okay. This is the perfect time to understand. And my favorite phrase is, pop the hood and take a peek and see what's going on and determine what's the right move here. What does this really look like for my organization? Do I need to change it up? Do I need to look for alternatives? Am I fine for a year, which is great, but I need to also think about what do I do when that year comes by, and what's my next? Because that can also be very much the case. Your perpetual license and your VMware platform today may be a-okay for a period of time, but as we've seen, time can fly, and then all of a sudden we're in a scenario where you, as an organizational person that's helping the infrastructure keep going or making these decisions, are going to be put to the test in understanding what your next is. So those are some of the things I wanted to make sure to call out, in case you haven't seen it. Obviously, these things change and evolve as the acquisition starts to lay out its plans for their changes and revamp of, just how VMware as a platform is being service for their client base. And so, if there's anything I'd want you to take out of this webinar is, please don't wait. Make sure you're starting to sit down and understand, where are we at? What's our risk? What's our exposure? What's our plan A, B, and C? And, think about these options. And if you need a partner to talk through it, we're very much here to help and discuss, what is your organization facing in terms of this particular scenario? How can we strategize? Is there anything we can provide guidance on, or actions forward? And then, if it's something that we can implement, of course, we'd be happy to offer those services. But ultimately, taking the time to understand what does it really mean? It's been over a month now since the announcement, so there's been enough time since the announcement that hopefully organizations have had that chance to sit down and think it through. But if you haven't, again, this is the perfect time to start thinking about what does that look like. And ultimately, personally, I think it's an opportunity if your environment stands to change, look at, a cloud solution like AVS. You get the immediate need addressed in terms of your licensing support and running your business. But just think about all the cool things that you could be getting from being inside the cloud that you may not have today that could inspire some additional projects down the road, like fortifying your security, like leveraging AI, like leveraging data and analytics to further inform your organization, protect your organization, or make your organization more efficient. So there's kind of like a win, and then there's a win-win in considering moving into the cloud. So thank you for joining us on this webinar. Do we have any questions?
Thanks for sharing all that great information, Carolyn. With that, we can jump into some of the questions we have with the last couple minutes here.
Okay.
The first one is, could you give us a quick rundown on what it might cost to move from AVS and how this could pay off down the road?
And I just mentioned this. So it really depends on, and I know this is not a hard and fast answer, but it depends on what products we're talking about here. So the nice thing here at Velosio is that we can assess, what products are we talking about in terms of VMware? What is the natural progression into AVS? Is there any downtime? What does the timeline look like? And essentially what to expect when that transition happens. So our projects are very, very strategic in nature, where we want to make sure we understand where are you today, what are we talking about, and how do we best implement that and collaborate together so we're on the same page and we agree that this is the best plan of action. From there, again, if we're talking about Velosio doing it, we would go in and do the effort, do all the heavy lifting, get it into AVS, and then you as an organization, again, you're validating that the services are running properly. But after the project is done, and you feel everything settles down and is confident, we don't have to walk away from it. We continue to collaborate with you so that you're, essentially enjoying your new service, right? Hey, great, I have it running, but what else can this thing do for us? And start talking about what more could possibly be available inside of the AVS.
That's great. The other question actually goes along with it a little bit. So what kind of support and training should one expect from you, from Velosio, to help get the most out of the new setup?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because what I've noticed in working with organizations, it's everyone's excited about a level of technology. It's a matter of, do I have time to learn something brand new? What does that skilling uplift looks like? They have other things that they're supposed to be doing day in and day out, and that could be very nerve wracking. So when we talk about moving, in this example, moving to AVS, not only are we helping you move into AVS, but we'll be doing overviews. Here's your, your management suite. Here's your different resources. Here's what that looks like. Here's how you can cost manage and budget, and all these different things, so that you as an organization are not going, I don't know, they did this for me and I have no clue. We're very much an organization like that, an organization that likes to teach a man how to fish, right? So that way, once the project is completed, those resources that are tagged up to learn a little bit more, get that person to person overview. But again, as the services continue, you can always come back to us and ask questions. And conversely, we may come back to you very much like we're doing today and say, hey, there might be a cooler new tool set that you might want to consider. Let's talk about that and see what that looks like for your organization as a whole.